forest swallowed the moonlight. Branches clawed at their cloaks as Rogan, Gildred, and Bran drove their horses south along a narrow game trail. Snow muffled the sound of hooves, but every few heartbeats, Rogan swore he could hear another rhythm behind them. The deep, steady beat of pursuit. The iron key lay cold against his chest beneath his tunic, its weight far greater than its size. "How far to this bridge?" Gildred asked between breaths. Rogan shook his head. "No map, no measure, just south." "That's a curse, not a direction," Bran muttered, urging his mare to keep pace. Hours passed. The cold grew sharper, the kind that gnawed at the edges of thought. Somewhere behind them, an owl gave a low, mournful call, and another answered, too perfectly in time. Rogan didn't believe in omens. Not until now. Just before dawn, the trees thinned. The trail widened into a frozen clearing, and there it was, a bridge of black stone spanning a chasm. The river far below was not water, but a slow, rolling mist, so thick it hid the depths completely. Crows perched on the bridge's parapets, hundreds of them, silent and still, their black eyes reflecting the faint light of the sky. Gildred pulled his horse to a halt. "I don't like this." Rogan studied the far end of the bridge. A narrow path cut into the rock led down under the arch. That had to be the vault entrance. "It's where the key belongs," Rogan said. They crossed slowly. The crows didn't move, didn't call. It was as if they were carved from onyx. Halfway across, the air grew warmer, unnaturally so. Breath no longer steamed from their mouths. The snow on the stones melted into dark streaks. "This is wrong," Bran said. "We're walking into something's mouth." Rogan opened his mouth to answer, and the crows moved. Not all at once. First one, then another, wings snapping open like black banners. Then the air exploded with the sound of beating wings as they took to the sky. They didn't scatter. They swirled above the bridge in a tight spiral, the pattern too precise to be natural. From within the vortex of wings came a voice, not loud but impossible to ignore. "The key has come home." A figure stepped out of the mist at the far end of the bridge. She was tall, wrapped in a gown of layered feathers that shifted from black to silver as she moved. Her face was pale, almost luminous, but her eyes were pools of pure darkness. "I am Moraine," she said, her voice carrying over the wind. "Keeper of the vault." Rogan kept one hand near his sword. The old man said the heart was dangerous, that it had to stay locked away. "It does," she agreed. "But the key was not meant for mortal hands. Give it to me, and you may walk away with your lives." Gildred leaned toward Rogan. "We don't know if she's friend or foe." Rogan didn't take his eyes off her. "We do know she's waiting here, on the exact night the riders are chasing us." Moraine tilted her head, almost bird-like. "The Black King's host is close. If you carry that key into their grasp, the vault will be unsealed. I am sworn to guard it, but not at the cost of my own life. Hand it over, and I will scatter them long enough for you to vanish." Her words sounded reasonable, almost too reasonable. The sound came again, and then hoofbeats from the northern side of the bridge. The riders were coming. Bran swore under his breath. "We don't have time to argue." Rogan felt the iron key against his chest, burning now instead of cold. He thought of the old man's silver eyes, the way he had said, "Your oath begins." "No," Rogan said. "If the vault is sealed, I'll see it for myself. And if it's guarded, I'll know who holds the guard." Moraine's smile was thin. "Then you have chosen the hard path." The crows screamed all at once, a deafening wall of sound. The air seemed to twist, the mist below rising in sudden columns that whipped across the bridge. The door closed behind them with a sound like 1,000 stones grinding together. Darkness swallowed the world. It was not the soft dark of night, but a heavy, living shadow that seemed to cling to their skin and press against their eyes. Rogan's breath came out in frost-white clouds. "Light," he said, and Bran fumbled with flint and steel. The spark caught on a torch, and for a heartbeat, the darkness shrank back. The vault stretched far beyond the torchlight, a corridor of black stone, its walls covered in faint carvings. The shapes were hard to make out, but Rogan could see the outlines of figures, kneeling, chained, their faces carved in exquisite agony. Gildred touched one of the carvings. "These aren't decorations, these are warnings." Bran swallowed. Warnings about what? Before anyone could answer, the whispering began. At first, Rogan thought it was just the torch hissing in the cold air, but then the sound grew, hundreds of voices speaking all at once, in a tongue older than the kingdom. They came from the walls, from the floor, from the very air. Gildred gripped his sword hilt. I don't like this! The torchlight flickered. The shadows on the wall moved, not like normal shadows, but as if the figures carved into the stone were stretching, reaching. Then one of them spoke in the common tongue. Turn back. The voice was soft, almost gentle, but it cut through Rogan like a blade. He gritted his teeth. Not until I see the heart. They pressed on, the whispers growing louder. Shapes moved at the edge of the light, pale, gaunt faces watching from the dark. Bran's torchlight fell on a door at the end of the corridor. It was smaller than Rogan expected, no taller than a man, made of polished obsidian. In its center was a mark, a circle with a single drop beneath it, carved deep into the stone. The key in Rogan's hand pulsed with heat. As he stepped forward, the whispering stopped. The silence was worse. He slid the key into the lock. There was no grinding of stone this time. The door simply melted away into shadow, leaving an open arch. Inside was a round chamber, the floor covered in a mosaic of black and red stone. At its center stood a pedestal of bone-white marble, and on that pedestal rested the heart. It was not a gemstone, not a crown. It was exactly what its name implied. A heart, perfectly preserved, still beating. Each thud echoed through the chamber, slow and deliberate. With every beat, the air seemed to thicken, the shadows in the room stretching toward it. Gildred stepped back. That's not possible. Bran's voice was barely a whisper. Whose heart is that? Rogan couldn't look away. It was mesmerizing, each beat pulling at him like a tide. From the shadows at the edges of the room, shapes began to emerge, tall, armored figures with empty eyes. A voice filled the chamber, low and resonant. You bear the key. You bear the choice. The figures circled them slowly, weapons in hand but not raised. The heart belongs to the Black King. If it is returned to him, his reign will be eternal. If it is destroyed, his name will be erased from time, but so too will the kingdoms born from his ashes. Rogan's mouth was dry. And if it stays here? The voice seemed to smile. Then you will join the others who guard it, until the next key-bearer comes. Bran shook his head. This is madness. We can't choose between a tyrant's return and erasing all of history. Gildred looked at Rogan. The old man sent you here for a reason. You know what you have to do. Rogan's eyes stayed on the heart. Each beat seemed to sync with his pulse, as if it were already inside him. Then the chamber shuddered. From behind them came the sound of battle, steel ringing, crows screaming, the clash of hooves on stone. The riders had reached the bridge. One of the shadow figures spoke. Decide, now. Rogan's grip tightened on the hilt of his sword. His mind raced. Destroy it and risk undoing the world he knew? Leave it and become its prisoner? Or... He took a step toward the pedestal. The shadow figures closed in, but did not strike. The heart beat faster. Rogan reached out. His hand closed around it. The moment he touched it, the vault exploded with light. The shadows screamed and dissolved. The walls rippled like water. The whispers became a roar, not of pain, but of triumph. When Rogan could see again, he was standing outside. The bridge was gone. The chasm was gone. Gildred and Bran stood beside him, both breathing hard, their eyes wide. In Rogan's hands, the heart was silent, still. But he knew, deep down, that it wasn't dead. And somewhere, the Black King had felt it move. The sky was wrong. It wasn't night, but the sun was gone. A crimson haze spread across the horizon, pulsing like the afterimage of lightning. The air smelled of iron and wet stone. Rogan clutched the heart tighter. It felt heavier now, as if it had drunk the light from the world. Gildred scanned the ridge ahead. We're not in the same valley. No, Rogan said, we're not in the same time. They had emerged onto a plain of black grass, each blade swaying, though there was no wind. In the distance stood a fortress, impossibly tall, built from dark stone that seemed to drink in the glow of the blood haze above. It loomed like the skeleton of a mountain, crowned with jagged spires. Bran swallowed hard. "I've seen that fortress in the old monk's drawings." Gildred nodded grimly. "The Black Keep." They started toward a cluster of rocks, hoping for cover, but the ground trembled under their boots. From the horizon came a sound, slow, deliberate, and impossibly heavy. Thud, thud, thud. The noise rolled through the ground, through their bones, through the air itself. Then they saw him. At first, he was just a shape against the haze, but as he moved closer, details began to burn into Rogan's mind, details he wished he could forget. The Black King was taller than any man, clad in armor blacker than shadow. The plates didn't reflect the red light, they seemed to devour it. In one hand he carried a sword as long as a warhorse, its edge rimmed with a faint, shifting glow. His face was hidden behind a helm carved in the shape of a snarling beast. Only his eyes were visible, pale and cold, like ice floating in a sea of blood. He stopped 100 paces away, and then he spoke. The voice was deep, steady, and absolute, the kind of sound that made you believe there was no other truth in the world. "You carry what is mine." Rogan's fingers tightened around the heart. "It doesn't belong to you anymore." The Black King tilted his head slightly, as if humoring a child. "You are mistaken. It has never belonged to you. It is me, and you." He took a step forward. The ground cracked under his boot. "Are trespassing." Gildred stepped forward, his blade raised. "You'll have to go through us first." The king didn't even look at him. Instead, he lifted one gauntleted hand, and the plain around them erupted. Figures burst from the black grass, half human, half shadow, their bodies twisting unnaturally as they charged. Their eyes glowed with the same pale light as the king's. Bran loosed an arrow into the nearest one. It hit, but instead of falling, the creature dissolved into smoke and reformed behind him. "Run!" Rogan shouted. They bolted for the rocks, the heart thudding in Rogan's grip. The creatures followed in silence, their steps eerily synchronized. An arrow from Bran's bow caught another in the head. This time it exploded into a cloud of ash. "Headshots!" Bran yelled. They fought their way toward the ridge, but every time they cut one down, two more emerged from the grass. The Black King didn't move. He just watched, as if the whole fight were a formality. When Gildred cut down his fifth shadow, the king finally raised his sword. The motion was slow, almost lazy, but when the blade came down, the ground split open between them, a chasm yawning wide. Rogan skidded to a halt at the edge. Below was not earth, but a swirling void of red and black, a storm that seemed to stretch forever downward. From its depths came whispers, the same whispers from the vault. The king's voice rolled over the chasm. "You cannot flee, you cannot hide. When the heart beats again, I will walk the world." Rogan shouted back across the gap. "Then I'll make sure it never beats again." The king's helm tilted. "You cannot destroy what you are becoming." Before Rogan could respond, the black grass behind them moved, and a figure emerged. It wasn't a shadow creature. It was a woman. Her hair was silver, her eyes pale green. She wore armor of dark leather, her back marked with a sigil Rogan recognized from the vault's door. She looked straight at him. "Give it to me," she said, her voice low but urgent. "You don't understand what you're holding." Gildred stepped between them. "Who are you?" She ignored him. "You have two choices. Give it to me, or watch him take it from your corpse." Rogan's pulse pounded in his ears. Behind her, the shadow creatures began to close in again. Across the chasm, the Black King simply stood, waiting. The heart seemed to twitch in his hands. Just once. And in that moment, Rogan knew every choice from here on would be a war. The heart throbbed again, not like a heartbeat, but like a pulse of thought. A feeling slid into Rogan's mind, uninvited. She is not what she seems. Rogan flinched. The voice was not his own. It was deep, resonant, and old. So old it made his bones ache just hearing it. The silver-haired woman took a step closer. Give it to me, she repeated, her eyes locked on the heart. You can't carry it much longer. It's feeding on you. Gildred raised his sword between them. Answer him. Who are you? Her gaze flicked to him, irritated. Someone who's been hunting that thing for longer than you've been alive. If you want to live, hand it over. Bran tightened his grip on his bowstring. Funny. That's exactly the tone a thief uses. The Black King still hadn't moved from across the chasm. His pale eyes glowed faintly through the blood haze. He will not give it to you, the king said, almost amused. It already knows him. The woman's jaw tightened. Shut your mouth, ghost. The king tilted his head. You call me a ghost, but who is haunting who? The shadow creatures closed in, their shapes rippling like smoke. Gildred swung his blade through the nearest, cleaving it in two. It collapsed into ash, but 3 more stepped over its remains. We're out of time, Gildred barked. Rogan's mind raced. He could keep the heart, but that meant fighting through an army of shadows with the Black King waiting to strike. Or he could hand it to this stranger, who might vanish with it into the haze and leave them with nothing. The heart pulsed again. Do not let her touch me. She will bury me where you cannot follow. Rogan's mouth went dry. What are you going to do with it? He asked. The woman didn't blink. Lock it away. Somewhere beyond his reach. Somewhere beyond yours. That doesn't exactly inspire trust, Bran muttered. The Black King finally took a step forward, closing the chasm with a gesture. The ground knit itself together like a wound healing in reverse. You talk of locking away what you do not understand, he said. Yet you think I am the threat. The truth is simpler. There is no keeping the heart from me. Not while it still breathes. The woman grabbed Rogan's arm. Her grip was cold. Not with temperature, but with something older. Something that made his blood feel sluggish. Look at me, she said. If you keep it, you will become like him. That's what it does. That's what it's always done. The only way to win is to bury it so deep no one can find it. Her eyes held no malice, but also no warmth. Gildred shoved her back. We're not giving you anything until we know what you are. She stumbled but didn't fall. Instead, she drew a curved dagger from her belt, the metal glowing faintly green. That's fine, she said coldly. You can learn the hard way. Before anyone could react, she lunged. But not at Rogan. Her blade slashed through the nearest shadow creature, and for the first time one didn't dissolve into ash. Instead, it shrieked and burst into flame. Bran blinked. Okay, that was unexpected. Move, she shouted, cutting down another. We don't have to like each other, but if you want to survive, stay close to me. Rogan hesitated only a moment before following. Her dagger tore through the creatures with unnatural precision. Even the Black King seemed to take notice, his helm turning slightly. By the time they reached a line of jagged rocks, the woman had felled at least a dozen of the things. She stopped abruptly, her eyes scanning the ridge. There's a passage here, hidden. It'll take us under the keep. Bran raised an eyebrow. Under the keep? You just happen to know a secret way into the Black King's house? She didn't answer. She just brushed her hand over a patch of stone, and it shivered, revealing a narrow, descending tunnel. The heart pulsed again. Do not follow her. She will lead you where I was made. Rogan swallowed hard. If we go down there, what's waiting for us? The woman didn't stop moving. Answers. And a chance to end this before it ends you. Behind them, the Black King's voice rolled like thunder. Go, little fox. Lead them to the burrow. I will find you there, as I always have. For the first time, the woman flinched, just slightly. Then she vanished into the tunnel's dark. Rogan looked at Gildred and Bran. Gildred's eyes were hard. She's dangerous, but so standing here. Bran shrugged. I say we follow her. At least she's killing more of those things than we are. Rogan looked at the tunnel's mouth. It yawned like the throat of something sleeping, something that might wake at their first step inside. The heart twitched in his hands, and he stepped forward. The tunnel was narrow, carved not by tools but by something alive. The walls were smooth and ridged, almost like the inside of a ribcage. A faint, wet sound echoed far ahead, dripping water or something moving. Rogan ducked his head to avoid a low arch, his boots scraping over the damp stone. The air was thick with a mineral tang, and every breath tasted faintly of iron. The silver-haired woman moved ahead without a torch. She seemed to see in the dark, never hesitating. Bran muttered under his breath, "I don't like how quiet she is." Gildred shot him a glare. "Then keep your bow ready and your mouth shut." Rogan's fingers brushed the wall, and for a moment he swore it trembled under his touch. The heart pulsed again, but this time the beat was slow, almost wary. "This place reminds me." The passage widened suddenly, opening into a vaulted chamber. A massive stone door stood at the far end, its surface carved with an intricate spiral. The spiral was made of bones, tiny ones, layered so precisely they seemed woven together. "Gods," Bran breathed. "Those are human." The woman turned, her expression unreadable. "Not human, not anymore." Gildred stepped forward, sword raised. "You're going to explain what that means." She ignored him and placed her palm against the door. The bones shifted, sliding aside with a whispering sound. As the spiral opened, a rush of cold air swept over them, smelling faintly of smoke and something sweet, like rotting flowers. The chamber beyond was vast and dim, lit by a single shaft of pale light from somewhere far above. And in the center stood a slab of black glass, its surface rippling as if it were water. The heart in Rogan's hands throbbed violently now, sending shivers up his arm. "This is where I was born." The woman turned to face them fully for the first time. "My name is Salvara," she said, "and this is the Mirror of Vaith. It's where the Black King's power began. The heart you carry is a fragment of it, torn free centuries ago in a war no one remembers." Gildred frowned. "And you? You've been guarding it?" Her lips tightened. "Guarding it, hunting it, trying to keep it from him." Bran squinted. "And why should we believe any of this?" "Because if you don't," Salvara said, "then, in less than a day, he will take it back, step through this mirror, and you won't be alive to regret doubting me." The heart pulsed in Rogan's grip. She speaks truth, but not the whole of it. Rogan swallowed hard. "If this is a fragment, then what happens if it's brought back to the mirror?" Salvara's eyes flicked to him. "Then the Black King will be whole again." Gildred stepped closer to her. "You want to destroy it?" Her gaze sharpened. "Yes, but destruction means returning it to the mirror and collapsing the mirror after, which will also collapse this place." Bran looked around the bone-lined walls. "You mean the tunnel? The keep?" Salvara's mouth was grim. "I mean the whole of the Black Valley." The cold realization settled in the air. Destroying the heart would kill thousands. Anyone still trapped in the valley's shadow. Gildred's jaw tightened. "That's not a choice. That's slaughter." Salvara's voice didn't waver. "It's survival. His survival, or ours." From somewhere deep in the tunnel behind them came a low, grinding sound, like stone tearing. Salvara's eyes widened. "He's coming!" The mirror rippled, and for a moment, Rogan saw the faint outline of the Black King's silhouette, tall, thin, crowned in shadow. The heart thrashed in his grip, sending sharp pain up his arm. "If I go back, he wins. If I am destroyed, you lose me forever. Choose, Rogan." Gildred planted himself between the mirror and Rogan. "We hold this room. No one touches the heart until we know the truth." Salvara hissed, "There's no time for—" But she was cut off by the sound of the stone door slamming shut behind them. The bones twisted back into place, sealing the chamber. Bran knocked an arrow. "Guess we're locked in with destiny now." The mirror's ripples deepened, the Black King's form becoming sharper. His voice seeped into the chamber like smoke. "You've brought them to the cradle." "How poetic, Salvara. Did you think you could end me here?" Salvara's knuckles whitened on her dagger. "Not the end you. Erase you." The air grew heavy, and the pale light dimmed. Rogan's chest tightened as the heart's pulse merged with his own. "One path leads to your death. One path leads to mine. And neither will save them all." His friends' voices blurred in the background. The mirror's surface stretched outward, reaching like a hand. And Rogan realized the choice wasn't coming later. It was now.